Introduce another person here who we are going to engage with. Her name is Helit Bar-El. She is a former director at Israel's National Security Council. Is joining us live from Tel Aviv. Helit, good to see you. Israel indeed has a right to defend itself against Hamas militants, but is the force used on Gazans justified?
Let's be very accurate. The force is not used on Gazans. The force is directed at Hamas terrorists and the Hamas organizations. Those are our targets, not civilian targets. As a matter of fact, we are going to great length to try and get civilians out of the way of harm. And I don't know if you have received those reports there, but we have very critical reports coming out that Hamas is preventing or trying to prevent the exit of civilians from the areas that are going to be affected, taking their car keys, taking their identification, and some worse actions as well. So we have a situation here where Hamas is refusing to let go of the human shields that it has made Gazans into. What Israel can do within the rules of international law as they pertain to war fighting, Israel will do. Israel will never target civilians or use extreme force at civilians. But, as you know, in all wars, these damages can happen. There are efforts being put forth for humanitarian corridors and safe passage to Egypt. There's a lot of objection to that by Egypt. So what we're seeing here is a situation where the equation Hamas wants is we will commit wars against humanity in your territory, but you can't really fight back because then you'll be harming citizens that we ourselves are putting in the way of harm. That equation isn't going to work anymore.
Helit, stay with me because we'll talk about that imminent ground offensive or invasion. Coming back to you, Sidhan Sibol, you did experience the rocket fire on your way. Tell us about your experience.
Well, Eric, it is a scary experience. A rocket, of course, it was successfully intercepted by the Iron Dome. Going kaboom over your head is not a very nice feeling. And essentially also yesterday we saw in Tel Aviv when we were present in the late evening, the sirens buzzing off and people just rushing to safety. This is a new normal here in Israel, a normal which of course we haven't seen in other peaceful parts of the planet. But essentially, Israel today is in a heightened state of security alert to make sure that there is no repetition of what Hamas did, the terror attack in Israel. And that is something that has completely changed Israel. I'm here in Sderot, where, of course, I can feel the sense of pain. And, of course, there are no people present on the ground to speak to you. But the last civilian who I spoke said that she's determined to stay here because she believes in that something good will happen, and she expressed her anger against Hamas, what Hamas did to her city, a city which was a bustling city just almost a week ago. But now today there is no one present on the ground. Now, of course, the focus also remains as to safety of the civilians. Many civilians I have spoken to in Tel Aviv have recounted their pain, grief and their horror as well. One lady I spoke to talked about how the Hamas entered her house and she could not get over. In fact, she started to cry when she was narrating her experience to us. And of course, now the focus remains on the rescue of the hostages. It's been over a week, so it looks bleak as of now. But the Israeli government has clearly said that it will be leaving no stone unturned to make sure that these civilians are released as soon as possible.
Sibol, live in Sderot in Israel. Thank you very much, Sidhan Sibol, and stay safe. Coming back to you, Helit, there is an imminent ground offensive or invasion. What is it going to entail? What are the likely scenarios, or what can we expect?
I have to tell you, I am not inclined to discuss the likely scenarios. I think it's very important that those scenarios that have been in place for quite a while remain where they are, that is with the military authorities, and not talked about too much ahead of what is planned. I can tell you, as I have said before, it's not going to be more of the same. This time, Israel just cannot stop until Hamas is eradicated. And we have the stamina, we have the forces, but we also have the time in terms of the backing of the Israeli home front. So the atrocities committed by Hamas are so far-reaching, inhumane, that the Israeli home front is steadfast in supporting the government, even though every day and every night in Tel Aviv, as in the rest of the country, we endure rocket fire. I had to pluck my child out of the bathroom and run to shelter. This is not normal. This is not something that we want to be occurring, but it is something that we will withstand, because what we will not withstand is another attempted ISIS attack on any part of Israel ever again. And that entails what will probably be a very long and very methodical and very well thought out ground invasion. We don't need to rush into it, but it will be carried out.
All right, I've been talking to Helit Bar-El, a former director at Israel's National Security Council. Helit, stay safe, and thank you for talking to We On Wild is One today.
Thank you.
We On is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.